Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Casey Seiler, editor-in-chief of the Times-Union, in for Dan Clark. In the summer of 2021, New York became the first state in the nation to declare gun violence a public health emergency. Along with that declaration came the creation of a state office of gun violence prevention, housed under the Department of Health. Since then, Governor Kathy Hochul's 2023 state budget allocated $227 million to fund a comprehensive approach to gun violence prevention. After the tragic mass shooting in Buffalo and the Supreme Court's overturning of New York's law limiting guns in public places, access to guns has been a hot topic for policymakers and in news headlines. But this week, we shift the focus back to the public health aspects of reducing gun violence in New York State. Take a look.
This street, 6 and Glen, is significant to me because, number one, I'm from these streets. But 2020 June, my son got shot right here on these streets, 6 bullets, but he survived it. My name is Veronica Roundtree. Everyone call me Mama Love. Okay, we're gonna be, I love you so much. And I am the founder of Mothers to Sons. Mothers talk to your sons about gun violence. For the most part, us mothers, we know what our kids are doing, so we need to talk to our sons about these guns to save their lives. We gotta save ourselves and our kids.
For Veronica Roundtree, a.k.a. Mama Love in Troy, New York, the prevalence of gun violence isn't only about guns. She sees a connection between a rise in gun violence and a decline in resources and support for her community.
What they got going on in our communities is drug infestation, high-end crime, lack of education, lack of resources. There's nothing for our children to do. There's no place for them to go. We have the Boys Club, that's all we got. It's a 16-year-old deaf. I've been trying to reach out to his mom, but I understand they got the 3 guys out of Virginia. So just as well get served for this kid's horrible murder. So this is what happened. This is on every block. Everywhere you go in our little city, we ain't gonna have no kids left.
In the past several years, organizations like the Centers for Disease Control and the American Medical Association have been advocating that violence be seen as a public health issue and not simply a public safety issue. New York State is taking a similar position, where gun violence prevention still involves law enforcement, but expands far beyond that.
We realize that gun violence affects kind of the whole community and that it's traumatic, that the trauma spreads, right, to victims and friends and loved ones, that it takes a while to recover. And so that's what we mean when we talk about gun violence being a public health crisis, that is not just about law enforcement, but it's about how do we use these programs, right, that we call violence interruption programs like SNUG, how do we use them to make communities whole?
In New York's 2023 budget, Governor Hochul allocated $227 million towards a comprehensive approach to gun violence prevention. The funding is divided between law enforcement and community-based programs. Hochul's efforts follow declarations made in 2021 by the New York State Executive Branch that gun violence be considered a public health emergency. In fact, violent gun deaths increased by 80% between 2019 and 2020 and remained elevated in 2021.
People lost their jobs, they lost their safety net, they lost their support systems where they couldn't go get substance abuse treatment or mental health treatment. People fell through the cracks in unprecedented ways during this pandemic, and we need to be sensitive to that and realize that that is not an excuse to harm another human being, but it's also what is going on in their lives and their communities that we need to help them heal.
You know, we know how to solve these problems because right before the pandemic, we were at an all-time low in crime, in not just in New York, right, but across the country. In the process, we've learned a lot. We've learned how to bring everyone to the table. We've learned how to bring law enforcement and community folks to the table. We've learned how to treat everyone like human beings. And we're trying to put the results of all that learning back to work.
A lot of people are saying that you're never going to get the guns off the streets. You're never going to be able to change this community. These kids are doomed. These kids are going to die. And I say, that's a lie. We're going to come up with solutions. That's the word of the day, solutions. We just got to figure out a way to talk to our sons, The main thing that we really need is for so many kids that something for them to do. Food, clothing, and shelter, mental health. We need to be able to sustain this mother-to-son organization and be able to pull people in and give them jobs. It's a fight. It's a fight that you have to constantly stay in. We just pray for peace worldwide. Worldwide peace.